What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Week 5 edition of the Millie Maker Roundtable. I'm DraftKheat, of course, joined, as always, by SNYDER and Locks discussing Millie Maker strategy, all things Week 5. And, we didn't have a Millie Maker winner on this show. We certainly did over at Run for Your Sports. Hoop, congratulations to Hoop last week, taking down the Millie Maker. But Locks, I felt a little bad for you. You won what, 215,000, something like that. You can give the exact number if you choose. Was it the Sunday night showdown or the Monday night showdown? I'm not sure, but a huge ship for Locks. Awesome, congratulations. And I was saying, at first I was like, this poor guy, he won over $200,000. He got overshadowed by Hoop's $1 million win. And then I came to my senses and realized you won over $200,000, and you're probably good being in second place. That's all right. So a big share of the showdown prize pool. Congrats again. Talk a little bit about that, and your general thoughts on Week 5 here coming up.
Yeah, got overshadowed a little bit, but I was okay with it. I mean, I'll take 215K. I would have loved a milli, but it is what it is. Still cool to see. Love to see it for Hoop. So, again, congratulations. We've been congratulating them all week. Still just cool as can be. Hopefully one of us hits that this week, or hopefully another RPS member does. Looking forward to Week 5. I'm giving back a little bit today. If everyone hasn't heard, I'm going to give out two $333 tickets. I'll PayPal or Venmo, whoever the winners are today, and hopefully two lucky guys can score some big wins.
Yeah, awesome gesture by you to give back, get the good mojo rolling. You do have to be a member to win those tickets, and we're going to give them out to whoever asks the best questions, posts the funniest shit, good information. Even maybe could get in the winner's circle in the live show Discord. So if you are a member, get in that live show Discord, compete for those Wildcat tickets. And I will say this: you got to play. You can't be taking Locks' $333. No, you got to get in there, get in the mix in the Wildcat, and try to ship something yourself. Keep the good mojo going. So we will be monitoring the live show chat over at the Run for Your Sports Discord all night long. And by the end of the show or somewhere along the way, we will pick two winners. If you're not a member of RPS, of course, you can sign up. Join the winning team. Hoop scores, Big T scores, all the other content, tons of articles. Of course, you got Locks, us, just everything you can need over at RPS. All sports, one price. Golf is back. SNYDER, you're big into that. We've got MMA stuff, baseball playoffs, everything you could need over at Run for Your Sports. So join us, join the movement, get in the winner's circle. And if you are already a member, get in the live show Discord and compete for those 2-3-3-3 tickets that Locks is so generously giving away. SNYDER, let's go to you. How did your Week 4 go, and what are your thoughts here on Week 5 coming up?
Yeah, it was a pretty good week for me. Cash game was pretty straightforward, and then tournaments, I had a couple decent tournament teams, and nothing near what Locks and Hoop did, but congratulations to Locks and Hoops last week. Epic hits. Just keeping that RPS heater rolling here. It's kind of interesting to see who's going to be the next guy to ship every week, every slate, somebody else that seems to shipping. So looking forward to diving into this week. We've got some lower totals here, some pretty good spots to target though. So I'm excited to jump into this and see where you guys are attacking this slate.
Yeah, I do think it's generally a little bit of a tough slate in terms of finding good offensive spots. I'm not, like you said, lower totals, SNYDER. I'm not seeing a ton of game environments that have me super excited, but of course everybody's dealing with the same 12 games, and there will be winners at the end of the day. Hopefully, three of us and people watching and members of RPS will be in the winner's circle once again. We will go game by game on this show. We'll go through each of the 12 games on the Sunday main slate. We'll go by the DraftKings order of games. So if you open up the DraftKings lobby, they've got the games listed. First game, the Chargers, Cleveland, and then on down the line. So if you are following along, if you want to follow, and see which games are coming up next, that is the order we will go by. Let's get to the first game of the slate, Locks. I think this is one of the better games, frankly. One of the higher totals, 47 total between the Browns and the Los Angeles Chargers. It is actually the Chargers who are road favorites here, 2-point favorites. Both these teams playing pretty well. We know what Justin Herbert can do. Of course, the Browns running attack, Nick Chubb in particular, has been fantastic. Other injury news, it does look like Keenan Allen, I think, is going to miss another game here. He's already been ruled out. So Guyton on our Palmer is questionable, so we'll see, but it should be Williams, Joshua Palmer, and DeAndre Carter out there. You've got Everett, Eckler, of course, so a lot of options here. And then on the Brown side, Locks, you've got big Nick Chubb, who's just playing at a ridiculous level right now. The Chargers, I had high hopes for this defense, but they really haven't stopped the run at all in a couple of seasons, to be honest. So it could be a scheme thing. I think Joey Bosa also out for the defense, so that's a blow. So, a lot going on here, and potentially, you don't say this about games in Cleveland all that often, but potentially one of the higher scoring games on this slate. Break it down for us, Locks.
Yeah, this is actually going to be one of the games I'm going to like to target just because, and I was with you, I was high on the Chargers defense coming into the year, to be dead honest with you, and they're kind of letting me down a little bit. So I could actually see a shootout here. There's a few stacks I actually like in this game. I don't think Herbert's going to be very high owned, and we've seen what he can do. I wouldn't mind pairing Herbert with Eckler and Williams in this game, running it back with a Chubb and maybe even an Njoku type build. You can get that way. I don't mind Kareem Hunt here. Amari Cooper has been a stud this year so far. I mean, there's a lot of pieces in this game that you can get to that I think makes sense. And with a 46.5 total being one of the highest on the slate, I could see myself getting here a pretty good amount. I mean, there's a lot of good pieces. Like I said, even Donovan Peoples-Jones, I mean, he had 9 targets last week. He could be a solid guy at 4-1. If Josh Palmer sits, DeAndre Carter spikes some interest at 3.9. And I'm just speaking on as far as value at that point. But, I like this game a lot. That first stack that I kind of mentioned might be one that I use a decent amount. Pretty high on this game.
Yeah, the Charger side is interesting. I think especially if Palmer does end up sitting. Obviously, already down Keenan Allen. At that point, you get a pretty condensed target tree, most likely for the Chargers. I believe the Browns kind of struggle defending the perimeter wide receivers. So could be a pretty good spot for Mike Williams potentially. I was on Amari Cooper some last week in Atlanta. That did not work out. He had a dud game. But Snyder, we see this from Cooper all the time over the course of his career. Obviously a very talented dude. He has big games. And then kind of when, maybe you buy into Cooper going into Atlanta, playing in the Dome, and he drops, a 1.9 fantasy point game on your ass. So that can be painful with him, but the time to buy him, right, is kind of coming off those bad games when maybe people are a little disappointed in his performance because it's just kind of the way it goes with him. And if the Browns are trailing in this game, which seems, somewhat likely, the Chargers are slight favorites, we could see the Browns take a little bit more to the air potentially in the second half, which would obviously benefit a guy like Amari Cooper. So, I see plays all over this game, and even a couple more could potentially open up if Josh Palmer ends up sitting. Your thoughts here, Snyder?
Yeah, I definitely like going right back to Amari Cooper here in this game. I think he's going to be like 2 to 3% ownership, maybe. Like he could even be like 1%. I think nobody's going to play him in this deal. I actually like the Browns in this game to win this game as well. So I'm going to be on some of these Browns pieces. I think Austin Eckler is going to see the most ownership in this game based off what he did last week. He was in some core plays for RPS last week. Crushed for a lot of the guys that are on our staff and members and such. I don't think I'm going to go back to Austin Eckler this week. I kind of would rather just go to Nick Chubb in this game. $200 more than Eckler. I think Nick Chubb he's the leading rusher in the NFL this year, back-to-back 100-yard games. He's found the end zone 5 times in the last 3 games too. So I think he's pretty much secured into at least 20 points. He scored 20 points in his last 3 games. So I think Nick Chubb is always a guy I like to play in tournaments. I think he's got that big upside. So I'm going to be looking to more so the Browns in this game. I like Chubb. I like Cooper. And then I could definitely get into some Carter and Herbert stacks there. Mike Williams always has that big upside. Not sure if I'm going to get to him this week, as I actually have quite a respect for the Browns defense this week. So I'm going to be on the Browns more. Carter's fine. Peoples-Jones, I think people may flock to him more so off the game last week, but I'm going to go right back to Cooper. Cooper had 2 straight really good games leading into last week. Everybody was on him last week. It was a great matchup, but this Chargers defense, they've been gutted against opposing offenses. The last 3 games, they've given up 24 or more points. They gave up 30 points, 38 points in one of those games. So I definitely like the Browns offense in this game.
Yeah, me too. Brissett continued to look, decent in the last game. Didn't throw a touchdown, but did complete 60% of his passes, 234 yards. Seems like he's, again, I wouldn't be playing him myself, but at least good enough to get the ball to his weapons and make those guys relevant. Nice price tag for Amari Cooper at $6K. So I do like that call. Pretty good game to kick us off here between the Chargers and the Browns. Let's go to the next game. The biggest spread on the day, Buffalo 2 touchdown favorites, and I guess a couple of extra points too. 14-point favorites over the Steelers, 45.5 total. This one in Buffalo. One of those mistakes I made last week. I kind of underestimated the weather out east. I was on mostly Jalen Hurts, and he could have had a big game. It was mostly the game script that kind of went against him, but nevertheless, the weather did impact the games more than I thought it would. So all up to that one. But here, Josh Allen should be back in some pretty decent weather. He gets this Pittsburgh team. They've got some good defenders, but, Josh Allen coming off, I don't know. It's barely even okay to say, mediocre games. I mean, he put up, 31 and 24.5 fantasy points these last 2 games. Those are good scores. But I feel like Snyder, he might be due for an explosion game. I'm curious where ownership will end up on Josh Allen. I'm wondering if people are going to see this big spread and assume that the Bills kind of grind the clock out for a lot of the game. I'm not really sure that's going to happen with Josh Allen and this Bills team. I have more faith in them to kind of keep throwing and run up the score a little bit than almost any other team in the league. So I do have a lot of interest in Josh Allen here, Snyder. And then on the other side, obviously, the big news, Kenny Pickett going to get his first NFL start. He did play a significant portion of the game last time out. You kind of saw the good and the bad. Ran for 2 touchdowns, fumbled once, but also, threw 3 picks. But still, I do think he gives this team a better chance going forward. Not necessarily in this game. I don't really see Steelers going into Buffalo and pulling this upset with their rookie quarterback. But I do think he makes, in my opinion, specifically George Pickens more interesting. The rookie connection there, I think, is a fun play. And then, I said it last week. It didn't necessarily work out, but I'm sticking with these big dog quarterbacks, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, these types of guys. I think more often than not, you're going to want these guys on your teams when it's all said and done. So very high on the Buffalo passing offense, as I probably always will be, so long as Diggs and Allen are healthy. And then Pittsburgh, I think they're a little bit interesting here if you want to take a couple stabs at some cheap pass catchers. So your thoughts here, Snyder, Buffalo, and Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I'm definitely high on this Buffalo passing attack too. I expect more so of like the week 1, week 2 performances we saw where they scored 31 and 41 points. Von Miller made that quote there too after week 2 saying they don't want to just beat teams. They want to embarrass teams this year. So they've had a couple off games. I mean, the weather game last week was kind of different. And I expect Buffalo to come in here and just roll over this Steelers team. I mean, this Steelers team this defense is horrible without TJ Watt in there. And it looks like their secondary, the last I've seen, I think most of their secondary was on the injury report as well. So that could be huge, something to watch. If they're rolling out like some secondary scrubs out there, I mean, Josh Allen could just have a field day. I think he's going to be one of the highest owned quarterbacks. So I think he's going to be like the popular cash game guy that everybody goes to. Might see some ownership, like maybe up towards 20% possibly. But I'm going to be playing a lot of this Bills passing attack in primary stacks, and then also in like secondary stacks. I'll be playing some Diggs and Pickens, or some Gabe Davis and some Pickens. I like Gabe Davis too at 6,400. I think this is a spot where we can see Gabe Davis kind of break out after a couple poor performances, 1 catch and 3 catches in his last 2 games. I think we could see him kind of break out here at 6,400. I think majority of people will go to Diggs. He's going to probably see right around 15% ownership, I think, while Gabe Davis will probably be only around 5% ownership. So I think that's kind of the way to get a little different. Play doubles with Allen or just play a Gabe Davis, a Pickens run back. Pickens definitely has more chemistry with Pickett as preseason and such. They had pretty good chemistry there. So I like this passing attack and the Pickens as a run back.
Yeah, that all makes sense. I think Pickens has big upside. We've seen the talent with him. You saw it in the preseason. You could see it in college when he was healthy. And then finally Pickett gets in there, and we see Pickens get 8 targets, 102 yards. He seems like the real deal to me. A bunch of these rookie wide receivers, we've been talking about it all year. We've been kind of high on these guys. They're coming through in big ways, and I think Pickens going to be joining that party going forward. So I like the Pickens call. Locks on the Buffalo side, they are potentially getting a little thin at wide receiver. Jamison Crowder is now on IR. Gabe Davis is going to play, but he's been kind of a little bit ineffective with that ankle. Isaiah McKenzie is questionable in the concussion protocol. They also lost Jake Kumaro, which doesn't sound like big information and won't be unless McKenzie misses too. And then I think you'll see another rookie, Khalil Shakir, potentially have a decent role in this game, especially with Dawson Knox out as well, right? Yeah, he's ruled out. They don't really have another pass-catching tight end, I don't think. So you're looking at a Buffalo team that locks. I think one of the biggest problems with Josh Allen, of course, he has Stephon Diggs, but if they're healthy, they have a lot of other guys it can go to. But if you condense that target tree down a little bit, these Josh Allen double stacks look pretty tasty to me this week, to be honest. Your thoughts here on Buffalo and Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I'm going to be high on the Buffalo side. I mentioned on Wednesday, I'm right with you guys on Pickens. I mentioned him as definitely a value option for us. Seemed to have great chemistry with Pickett. Pickett actually looked somewhat good and rejuvenated that offense a little bit. They've been a little sluggish, to be honest with you. So, I mean, I'm not going to play Pickett, but I'll definitely be on Pickens. On the other side, yeah, I'm playing Allen a lot. Somebody in chat asked about Singletary. I don't like Singletary. I don't ever play the guy. I don't know why. I'm not a big fan of the guy.
That was my response too. Never Singletary. I just can't do it.
I'm
just not going to play him with Josh Allen, and I'm never playing Singletary over Josh Allen. You know what I mean? Like if I'm going to the Bills,
exactly,
I'm going to the big dog.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. Diggs, obviously, always a beast. He's going to garner some ownership. I've always liked Gabe Davis. He does like to pepper him in these spots sometimes, so I don't mind saving the 2K and going to Gabe Davis. I think he's going to have a big game, especially with Knox being out. I really love McKenzie if he plays at 5K. I just don't know if he's going to play or not. And then you guys touched on Shakir. Yeah, I mean, definitely some value. I'd probably sprinkle him in if McKenzie's out. That's about the only time I'm going to play him. Otherwise, I don't think I'm going to play him at all. And actually, I'm going to have Quentin Morris in my player pool a little bit. I mean, at 2.6, he catches a couple balls, I'm golden. And in all honesty, Josh Allen likes his tight end. So I'm going to sprinkle him in. I'm going to be heavy on Buffalo here. The only Steeler here I really like is Pickens in this one.
Yeah. The more I think about this Buffalo wide receiver situation, with Crowder being out is I think maybe bigger for McKenzie than people realize, because they're basically both, when they play in the slot, right? And they were kind of splitting that role 50-50 when both guys were healthy. If you take Crowder off the field, I think potentially we'll see a full-time role for McKenzie here. Obviously Diggs, Davis on the outside, and then McKenzie. But if McKenzie does sit, I don't really think they have any choice but to go to Shakir as essentially a full-time wide receiver. Talented dude that I think would have a chance to put up a big game, honestly, at 3,200. So I'm with you, Locks. I don't really want much Shakir if McKenzie plays. But if McKenzie plays, I like playing him. If he doesn't, then I can go to Shakir pretty easily. So I'm going to be big, I think, on this Bills passing attack. The more we talk about it, the more I think about it. Just makes a lot of sense, especially with the condensed target tree. I don't think, some sometimes quarterbacks, you lose a piece or two of the offense and you could start to struggle. I don't really think, the Dawson Knox and Jamison Crowder being out is going to slow Josh Allen down. I'm not worried about that. He's got his main guys in there. So I expect a big performance there. And then, George Pickens on the other side is my favorite play from Pittsburgh. Let's stick with you, Locks, for this next game. Houston and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Modest 43.5 total here. It is the Jaguars 7-point home favorites. News and notes looks like Zay Jones is questionable. Not sure if he's going to play, but generally two pretty healthy teams, at least compared to kind of what we've seen from them recently. So we kind of know what to expect from both of these teams. I think for the most part, we saw Dameon Pierce really take control of that backfield, had the long touchdown run, continued to be kind of a split between ETN and James Robinson. But yeah, a decent game here, one that I think could potentially have more fantasy goodness than the general public's giving it credit for. What do you see here, Locks?
Yeah, this could be a sneaky one. I think it could get up there in points, honestly. So I'm going to definitely have some pieces in here just because this is a game you can get to that's going to have a lot of points that, in all honesty, you can get some value here. I mean, you're going to be saving a lot of money if you stack this game. So you could get some studs elsewhere if you wanted to go here. I do like Pierce. He continues to be a stud. I mean, I don't know. He completely took the backfield over last week. So I like him a lot. I'm waiting on the Nico Collins breakout game. I've liked him all year. I think he's just one or two big plays away from having a huge game. And at 4-1, I don't know how you get away from him, especially against Jacksonville. Cooks obviously always gets targets, so you can always play him. I don't think he's had less than 7 targets in a game all year.
Yeah.
So obviously you can get to him, but I like the Nico Collins play because it's saving me 2K. So on that side, that's what I like. The other side, the running back situation I don't like just because it's split. I would lean on ETN this game. I think I'm going to be actually playing a decent amount of ETN at 5,100 this week, just because I think that's a better play, and I think Robinson's going to get more ownership. So I'd rather save money there. And then as far as wideouts go, pass catchers, Kirk, yeah, he's going to get peppered with targets. If Zay Jones plays, I think I'm going to again save value, get some value there, and save 2,500 and go with Zay Jones over Christian Kirk in that aspect of things, just because I got some other spend up spots I want to spend in. So I'm not really on the QBs in this game. Might sprinkle in a little Lawrence if I play 150, which I'm doing this week. So I'll probably have some Lawrence in my player pool. I like this game. I mean, there's a lot of value in it. There's a lot of pieces you can plug in.
Yeah, this will be the case with a lot of games for me this week. These kind of cheaper quarterbacks, probably not going to end up on them very much, but you can certainly go to the targets here or to the weapons. Brandon Cooks, like you said, a ton of targets each and every week. He's got explosive upside as well to break one over the middle for a long touchdown. Yeah, and then Christian Kirk, kind of coming off really disappointing game. Did get 9 targets though in that one against Philly. Philly defense just plus the weather. It's just a tough spot for Jacksonville on the road there. But I expect a bounce back game from Christian Kirk here. Wouldn't mind a little kind of correlation, secondary correlation, Kirk, Brandon Cook, something like that. Snyder, what do you see here between the Jaguars and the Texans?
Yeah, I actually like the Jaguars quite a bit here. I'm going to be overweight on Lawrence and Christian Kirk and Zay Jones. I actually really like Kirk in this spot. Hopefully people kind of go off him what he did last week. He was going against that tough Eagles secondary in the bad weather conditions. But before that, I mean, he's just been absolutely rock solid, 19, 25, and 20 points in his first 3 games. I expect a lot more of that here. I think he's going to score at least 20 points in this game. So I'm going to be right back on Christian Kirk this week. He saw about 9 targets a game for the first 3 weeks. So I definitely think he's got a double-digit target upside here in this game. So I'm going to be on him. And then Zay Jones is a nice double stack, or maybe I'll flip-flop the singles there. I definitely think Zay Jones is going to come back. He saw 11 targets in the last game he played. Really good price savings there. And then I do prefer Nico Collins a little bit more to Brandon Cooks, just basically for the price savings, like Locks was saying. I like the 2K. It's definitely going to help me get up in some other areas. So I think my main stack is going to be a double here with Lawrence, Zay Jones, Christian Kirk and then bring it back with Nico Collins. I think we could see points in this game. I don't mind the Jacksonville defense either in this spot. I've been playing Jacksonville's defense the first 3 weeks. I didn't really play them last week because I was going elsewhere, but I think they still have a really good price tag here at 3,400. I don't think anyone's going to get to them. Everybody's going to play a Dallas and some of those cheaper ones. So if I'm spinning up at defense, I definitely like how this Jacksonville defense is played. I'm just looking at right now. They've got quite a few sacks. They've had an interception in every game at least. They've got 7 interceptions on the year, so that's definitely upside there. They could get a pick 6 off this struggling Houston team, so I definitely like that. And the running backs, I think they're both in play here. Robinson, Etienne. The Houston has given up some pretty big games to running backs this year, so I think they're interesting. I just prefer the pass side more. I think Lawrence has the upside to hit that 300-yard bonus and throw for 3 or 4 touchdowns in this game.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me to see Lawrence have the big game. I do think he's a much better play than Davis Mills. He's got a little bit of mobility as well, that obviously can come in handy around the goal line. That's Houston and Jacksonville. Let's go over to Chicago and Minnesota. 44 total in this one. Vikings 7.5-point favorites, which does give them, the Vikings, one of the higher implied team totals on the slate. You guys know who it is for the Vikings. We saw Justin Jefferson. He's been kind of all over the place this year. He's had 2 very disappointing games and then 2 just absolutely monster games. 10 catches for 147 yards, also rushed for a score in the London game early last week against the Saints. At home here against Chicago, we're going to see a lot of ownership, I think. Snyder will stick with you here on Dalvin Cook. I get it. He's still getting all the work. Vikings are big home favorites. Kind of every box that you would want to be checked, checks here for Dalvin Cook. I'm a little worried about his kind of explosiveness. He's taken a lot of injuries over the years. That's not the opportunity is a big part of the game, right? For sure. So I totally get it. I will have some exposure to Dalvin Cook, but I do think I prefer to get to Jefferson. I think he's the much higher upside player, and I wouldn't really want to play both. So I'll be leaning on the Jefferson side of that one. Chicago, David Montgomery is questionable. I'm not sure if he's going to play. Obviously, that would kind of derail the Khalil Herbert train, who was okay last week. Nothing spectacular there. We did see Tristan Ebner kind of cut into that passing down work, which limited Herbert a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. Vikings defense has been bad. Like, you could see a potential shootout here, but are the Bears capable of getting into a shootout is kind of my question with this game, to be honest. I would like the Vikings much more if it was, the Bears, but then also a decent offense that could potentially keep pace, because I do think the Vikings are probably going to move the ball pretty easily here. What do you see, Snyder, between the Bears and the Vikings?
Yeah, I really like Justin Jefferson for tournaments. Anytime we can get Justin Jefferson under 10% ownership, I'm fully in on that. We saw last week in the second half, they got him going more. So hopefully that can carry over to this week. So I'm going to be on Justin Jefferson. I think I'm going to be off of Dalvin Cook as he's kind of getting steamed up. I could see him being like 15 to 20% owned, and I think I'd just rather go to other options. Like you had said, kind of worried about him a little bit. I don't know if he's got that same upside he used to have, so I'm just going to be off of him. If he beats me, he beats me, but definitely in on Justin Jefferson. I think
Cook is also kind of a ticking time bomb for an in-game injury. Like, it just –
we saw those hamstring injuries or whatnot. And
knees, He usually recovers pretty quickly, but he leaves a lot of games early. I'm a little worried that he's kind of aging out of it. I mean, it happens quickly for a lot of running backs, right? And I think it could potentially get there for Cook too.
Yeah, I'm just not looking for that tilt tomorrow, so I'm just going to be off him. If he beats me, he beats me, but I'm going to be on Justin Jefferson for sure. I think KJ Osborne's interesting for tournaments. And then I like Irv Smith for a cheap tight end, 3,200. That's a really good price tag, I think, for him. I think he's going to be utilized quite a bit more so going forward. So I'm going to be on some Irv Smith. He's still seeing targets every game, 4 targets, 6 targets, and 8 targets his last 3 games. So I definitely like Irv Smith as well as Justin Jefferson, but definitely going to be overweight on Justin Jefferson in tournaments.
Yeah, totally get it. Any Chicago Bears, Snyder? I'm not really playing much over there.
No, I think I'm going to be off of the Bears as a whole for sure. I'm not really on that offense. I played Herbert some last week, but definitely not going anywhere near this passing attack. They just can't move the ball. They don't want Justin Fields throwing the ball. I don't think he's that good. He's looking to run. It looks like every time he drops back, takes like one look at his receiver. If he's not there, he's looking to run, I think. So I'm just going to be off of the Bears as a whole.
Yeah, plenty of landmines out there on an NFL Sunday. I don't know if you want to start your day by like purposely jumping on one, which feels like it would be if you're jumping on the Bears offense. I don't really see the point of doing that. Locks, what do you see here? Vikings, Bears.
Can I keep it short and simple?
Yes.
Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
But I'm leaving Jefferson with ownership.
Yeah. I'm seeing Jefferson around 8%, Cook maybe around 15%. I think there's a significant difference in upside between the two. I know they play different positions. I know they're not quite the same price tag, but I would prefer to be overweight, like, play Jefferson at Cook's percentage and play Cook at Jefferson's percentage, something like that.
On this one, I'm sick of saying Mooney's name. He continues to just let me down, so I'm never playing him again this year probably.
Yeah.
I'm just sick of it. Cole Kmet, he's been horrible. Justin Fields has been terrible. Montgomery might be back, so I'm off the Bears completely. Those are the only two Vikings I don't mind Irv Smith, like Snyder said.
Sure.
Maybe to save some salary there, but that's it on this one for me. Nothing major.
Yeah. Vikings defense, I think, is a decent play here too, especially if you're not on Jefferson or Cook. I'll happily target Chicago in any time. But we'll move on from the Vikings and Chicago game. Seems like a pretty straightforward. Give us those Vikings stars, and then not a whole lot else, to be honest. Let's move on to the next game on the slate. Detroit Lions, New England Patriots. Patriots 3.5-point favorites here. They will have the rookie Bailey Zapp starting. He did see significant work in week 4. Actually looked pretty good. 10 of 15, 99 yards and a touchdown in that close loss to Green Bay. He will get the start here. We kind of anticipate seeing, or at least I do, seeing a lot of Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson out of the backfield for New England. And Locks kind of sets up as a good spot for those guys with the rookie quarterback and against the Lions team that, listen, this offense is extremely impressive, but the defense is just as bad as the offense is good. Now they've got to go on the road. I think they've maybe played all their games indoors. Yeah, 3 home games and then in Minnesota. So they played all 4 games in a dome. They go to New England. I kind of like New England to win this game. And we've seen in the past, if New England can find something on the ground, especially with a rookie quarterback under center. What was it? There's like the win. Was it against Buffalo? I think last year when they attempted 3 pass attempts the whole game, they ran the ball every single play.
Yep.
They're willing to do it, and it seems like they might be able to do it here, Locke. So I kind of like these New England running backs. I don't really know how to pick between them. They're the same price. They seem to have similar roles. But I do like both guys, and I could see both guys having good games here.
Yeah, I could see it too. A lot of people, I'm sure, are going to ask, hey, can you play them both together? Possibly. I mean, it's a way to get different, I guess.
You can. I'm not going to do it, though.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it. I never like doing that. I mean, that's just, to me, it's just dumb because one of them's probably going to go off, not both of them, in my opinion. I could be wrong. It could happen. You never know, but I wouldn't do it. You can do it if you're 150 and obviously do it a couple times, but I wouldn't recommend it. Do we know if Monroe's playing or not?
Who? He's questionable. I kind of think he's going to sit, but it's not clear.
Yeah, so I'm kind of, I don't know. I'm iffy on the Detroit side. New England's defense isn't horrible. So, I mean, I don't think Hawkinson comes back with the game of his life again. So I'll sprinkle him in a little bit. This offense is just crazy. I mean, to see Detroit Lions as a number 1 offense in the league through 4 weeks is just kind of crazy to even think about. But I'm not too high on them this week, to be honest. I'm more high on Harris and Stevenson. And if I had to choose between the two, I think Stevenson's coming in higher owned. I like Damian Harris better this week, to be honest. So if I had to choose between the two to help you guys out, I'd say Damian Harris. Other than that, on this game, I don't really like a whole lot. I mean, Zappe didn't look terrible against the Packers, but I mean, I can't play him. Could he get some of these cheap receivers the ball? Yeah. So you might be able to sprinkle in a little bit of Myers, Parker, and Aguilar, but I'm not really on this game a whole lot. I know people are going to want to be on this game just because of what happened last week in the Detroit game with all the offense on it, but I don't see that happening again.
Yeah, this is going to be one where, I believe in Detroit, their offense for the most part, but less so on the road, outdoors. A little bit banged up. Obviously, no Swift in the lineup, so you will see probably Jamal Williams carry the load again. I like him a little bit just because I think he's going to get pretty much all the work like he did last week. But I do think we'll see Detroit slow down in this game. I do like the Patriots to win it. I do like those Patriots running backs, to be honest. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I'm kind of hoping Amon-Ra plays and some of these Detroit lines become not as good of plays so that the fade is easier, I guess. SNYDER is the way I would put it. What do you see here between Detroit and New England?
Yeah, this isn't a spot I'm looking to target Detroit at, so I think it's going to be a full fade for me on the Detroit side. And I agree with you guys on the two running backs for the Patriots. I think that's the only spot I would look to attack this game. I'm not really overly excited about this game or have too strong a conviction on anybody in this play, but I definitely think both running backs at really good value price tags, 5,500, 5,600. I can definitely get on some Stevenson and Harris. I will be setting rules, so I don't want to play both together, so I will set a rule for max one if I'm MMEing to make sure I don't play both of them in the same lineup. But definitely think they're the best plays in this. I could even possibly see getting to the New England defense. They're under 3K, but I don't think I'm going to have too much in this game outside of those running backs.
Yeah, it sounds like we're all pretty much on the same page on Detroit and New England. But if Detroit does it again on the road in New England, it's like, all right. We're a quarter. It's crazy we're already in week 5, but a quarter of the way, or not quite a quarter, given the longer season now. But they've been really, really impressive. But like we said, all 4 games have been inside. Now they got to go outdoors. Could be a little bit different for Detroit. That's kind of the case with the NFL most of the time is, teams are never quite as good as they looked the previous week or, the previous couple of weeks. There's a lot of parity. And I do think Detroit, this seems like a spot where they could potentially come back to earth. We'll get to the next game here in a second. I did want to remind you guys, please hit the subscribe, hit the like button for this show if you're watching this on a Saturday night. I presume you're enjoying the content. Do us a favor, hit that like button. It does allow us to bring you guys this show free of charge each and every night. And if you missed the beginning of the show, we are giving away, or Locks is giving away, I should say, 2 $333 Wildcat tickets for tomorrow's contest. You just got to be in the live show chat Discord, and we'll be picking the winners there. No winners picked yet, I'll say that, or at least I haven't picked any. Lux and I are working on that together. So yeah, say something funny, ask good questions, whatever it is, get in the Discord, and we'll pick a couple of winners before this show ends. All right, with that, let's get to the next game on the slate, Seattle and New Orleans. Significant injury news in this one. It is the Saints that are 5-point favorites, 45.5 total. Jameis Winston expected to miss, listed as doubtful. I would be pretty surprised if he ended up playing. It should be Andy Dalton, who was in there a lot last week, almost pulled off the upset against the Vikings, and continued to get Chris Olave involved, whose price is climbing up to 5,700, but Michael Thomas going to miss. So yeah, I think still a pretty good spot for Chris Olave. What looks to me like an ascending rookie. And then you've got Seattle on the other side, heroes for our man Hoop, helping lead him to the $1 million win. He had both Metcalf and Lockett on that team, along with Geno Smith, who I well, I kind of mocked last week as a play, and he showed me what's up, dropping 35 fantasy points. The most accurate QB in the league so far this year, Snyder, Geno Smith. I did not have that on my bingo card, I'll be honest. And with the way Russell Wilson is struggling, you sort of wonder, was it Russell Wilson holding back this team? And now Geno Smith is taking over. I don't know quite yet, but he's still 5,500. He's still cheap. The Geno Smith, Andy Dalton shootout isn't something I necessarily want to bet on, even with how good Geno's been. But yeah, break it down for us. But break it down for us here, Snyder. Geno Smith, Andy Dalton, Saints, and Seahawks.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting spot. I like Alvin Kamara here quite a bit. The running backs have had pretty good success here against Seattle. I think Kamara is at a significant discount here. I think he's going to kind of pop off this game. So definitely going to be on some Alvin Kamara at only 6,600. I think he's got that upside to be like an 8K player. So I think we've got a pretty good discount here. I think he's going to see some ownership, though. He could see like right around 20%, I think, but that's fine. I'll still find ways to get different or get overweight on him. But for the pass catchers here, I think DK Metcalf's going to see a lot of I just lost the name. The Seattle or the Saints cornerback, and he's going to be shadowed by Marcus Lattimore. There it is. So I think Tyler Lockett's an interesting play here. He's been getting peppered with targets. 5,600. It's a great price tag. So I'll have some Lockett. I think Marcus Callaway's an interesting GPP play. Cheap guy, 3.3K. It sounds like Jarvis Landry may go, but he's going to be limited, I think so. So I'm going to be on some Marcus Callaway. I think everybody's kind of going to gravitate towards Chris Olave at 5,700. So I like going to Callaway I think he's going to be virtually unowned, possibly. So I'm going to be on him for tournaments, and then Alvin Kamara, and then Tyler Lockett are pretty much the three main plays for me here in this game. I think I'm going to be fading pretty much everybody else. I'm not going to go back to Geno Smith or Andy Dalton here. I prefer some other guys, quarterbacks in that range. So I think it's just Kamara, Callaway, and then some Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, that'll make sense. Let's go over to you, Locks. What do you see here?
Yeah, on this one, I like Chris Olave a lot. I know a lot of people are stealing off this week, but he's just been a beast. I mean, his air yards are crazy. Seahawks defense sucks. So I'm going to be high on him. Andy Dalton can still throw the ball, so I believe he'll get him the ball and he'll be okay. I don't really like anything else on that side. Maybe Kamara, just because I don't know, because his ownership seems high to me. Are you guys seeing him steamed up around like 20%?
Yeah, I think he'll be around 20%.
So that's the only reason I don't think I'm going to be able to get there. I just think that's too high, to be honest. I mean, I could see it, but I don't think I'm going to get there just based on ownership. I'll have him in my player pool. I'm not going to fade the guy, but I'll be under the field on him probably. As far as the other side goes, Geno wrecked me last week. So I'm not playing any quarterbacks in this game. And, well, those were the two highest scoring quarterbacks. So I had to eat crow a little bit on that one. But Sunday night paid off, so I made the right call on that.
Yeah.
I do like the Lockett call on the other side. And I think Rashad Penny's sort of returning to form a little bit. I mean, we saw him crush at the end of last year. I just think the dude's going to get all the carries. He's a good back, and I like him. I'm going to play him a little bit every week, especially if he's still priced down in the 5.3 range, to be honest with you. So that's where I'm at on this game. I don't have a ton of interest in it, but there is some pieces that I like for sure. I'm high on Olave.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with Kenny Walker. He's questionable to play too. If he's out, should be a ton of Rashad Penny, who, I mean, if you look back at like his last 10 games, dating back to the last 4 or 5 from last year when he took over that role, he's averaging like 6.5 yards per carry, ton of touchdowns. He looked awesome last week. And even if Walker is healthy and available, you know, I mean, if Penny gets going again, I'm not saying he will for sure, but they can ride this guy. I mean, he's done it many, many games, the high percentage of games over the last 10 or so that he's played. So I do like the Rashad Penny call. I'm in on Olave with Michael Thomas out. I mean, the targets have been there every week, no matter who's playing quarterback. I don't really see that changing. Andy Dalton, not a great quarterback, but he's good enough to get the ball to his number one wide receiver, which we're pretty damn sure is Chris Olave here. So I like that. And then I do have some interest in Kamara. The ownership does scare me, but I do think Kamara potentially benefits from Andy Dalton here, right? Who I don't want to compare Andy Dalton to Drew Brees, but just in terms of being able to, deliver the ball on time to a running back, running a simple route or a simple flat route or a screen pass, something like that. I think Dalton, not Dalton. I think Dalton can get the ball to Kamara in space where Kamara can do his damage. He's pretty cheap at 6,600. So I do have to have interest there. And in Seattle, I like that Lockett over Metcalf call SNYDER with Lattimore on the outside with Metcalf. We've seen Lattimore shut down Mike Evans, who not a perfect comp for Metcalf, but obviously Lattimore able to handle, those big bodied guys like Metcalf and Evans both are. So I do like that call. Maybe it's Lockett that does the damage. He's a little bit cheaper here as well. Let's get to the next game on the slate. Miami Dolphins and New York Jets. Thankfully, I think Tua going to sit at least this game out with what seems like the double concussion thing. It'll be Teddy Bridgewater back there for Miami. I thought he looked, pretty decent, to be honest, when he came in for Tua. I'm not that high on Tua as a player anyway. I think Bridgewater can kind of do similar things, especially just with how this offense runs, right? It's all about kind of getting people open in the middle of the field or getting behind the defense for a wide open deep strike. I think Bridgewater could find success here if he's got his weapons. Both Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle questionable to play. I kind of expect both guys to go, but again, we don't really know. So that's a big thing to watch for Miami. And then with the Jets, you've got Zach Wilson back under center. Did manage to pull off the victory against Pittsburgh, but the end of the final fantasy score was fine, but I wasn't really impressed all that much just with how he plays. I'm not a big believer, frankly, in Zach Wilson. So a lot of moving parts here on both sides of the ball. What do you see, SNYDER, between the Jets and the Dolphins?
Yeah, I think this is an interesting spot where we could see some points here. I kind of like Zach Wilson. It's a cheap stack with Elijah Moore. You can get that real cheap if you're looking to spend up at a couple of running backs, get a couple of high-priced running backs, and then pair it with a cheap stack here with Moore and Wilson. I wouldn't even be opposed to playing the Miami defense against Wilson here. Wilson's had he's had 14 turnovers. He's been sacked 45 times. So I think he's a guy that could throw a pick six and then come right back and lead a touchdown the other way. So I think this is like one of the rare spots where I would actually play a defense versus my stack. So I think Zach Wilson's interesting here. He's got that a little bit of rushing upside. He looked pretty good last week, 252 yards throwing the ball. So I'm going to be a little on him with Elijah Moore. He was the guy he kind of targeted last year. Garrett Wilson's there too. I think Garrett Wilson's $200 more, but I'm going to go with the savings there. I kind of like Jalen Waddle a little bit over Tyreek Hill this week too. I think he's more of the possession receiver, can catch that slant and go. So I'm going to be on Jalen Waddle as my bring back in here, and then kind of loading up with a couple of higher expensive running backs with this stack.
Yeah, that makes sense. Both these guys very expensive. $8K for Tyreek Hill, $6,700 for Jalen Waddle. But like I said, I do think Bridgewater can do the things that Tua does. If Tyreek Hill, if you watch their games, like a lot of his catches, and this was true with the Chiefs too, he's just wide open, right? The coverage breaks down. He's sprinting across the field in front of the safeties. Teddy has his faults, but he can certainly deliver the ball accurately in those types of situations, Locke. So I do think he makes sense as the backup to Tua, as kind of a similar type player, I think, that can probably perform in this offense. But he does need his weapons, obviously. And I am seeing also Bridgewater projected as the third or fourth highest quarterback. I don't want to pull a Geno Smith from last week, but that seems a little aggressive for me in terms of the ownership for a guy like Teddy Bridgewater, who I kind of think of as a low upside type player. What do you see here, Locks, for Miami and the New York Jets?
Yeah, I just see bits and pieces here. Excuse me, to be honest. Bridgewater he could get there, but I don't see it. He's like you just mentioned, he doesn't have a ton of upside. And at QB, I'm paying up this week. I mean, these are going to be guys, and I know I said it last week too, but I think it's going to hold true again this week. I'd rather pay up for the guys that can score 30 or 40 rather than pay down and get a guy that's going to get me 20. It's just not going to help me out there in that aspect. But I mean, I could see it. He could definitely get there. He's got the talent around him to get there. I will say that absolutely. This backfield angers me because Mostert and Edmonds could both just crush if one of them would just get the whole backfield. But we don't see that happening here. So it's hard to choose between them week in and week out. It just seems like it's a complete just, hey, whoever has a hot hand or whoever the heck I want to put in. So I can't play either one of those guys, even though I like them. Hill, I love Hill. I think he's going to get targeted a bunch with Bridgewater. It does scare me with Waddle, just the fact that he kind of was limited towards the end of that game. I don't know if you guys saw that. So I think I might be a little cautious on Waddle in this one. On the other side, you can go to Breece Hall or Michael Carter. Again, that's another timeshare I'm staying away from, but there is value there to be had. And then the one wide receiver I actually like that it seems like Zach Wilson likes and whoever's playing QB for the Jets likes is Corey Davis at 5,100. So I'll sprinkle him in a little bit there. But other than that, I don't know. I don't really like this game a whole lot. I'm going to be honest with you this week.
Yeah, I just have trouble going to Jets players. Breece Hall is the guy I'm most interested in at 5,400. Seemed like he kind of took the lead role, wrestled it away a little bit from Michael Carter, which you would expect to continue, right? I think he was the top running back chosen in the draft, super productive in college, crazy good athlete, and a back that, potentially could vault himself into the true workhorse, McCaffrey, Barkley, Dalvin Cook territory. I think I would almost expect that to happen, frankly, at some point, and maybe that's happening now. You got the young guy in there with Zach Wilson, and so I do think Breece Hall gives you a lot of upside. If you're going to get 15 touches out of him for the explosiveness that he can bring to the table, just takes one play at that price point. So Breece Hall, the guy that I'm looking most closely at on the Jets, and then obviously that Tyreek Hill and Waddle, whether they play or not, is going to have a big effect on this game and on the slate, I think, in general. But if they're both in there, I don't know how much Teddy will play, but I'll definitely mix in Waddle and Tyreek Hill. I do think Bridgewater is capable of getting them the ball. If one sits and the other plays, you could see 10 to 15 targets for who's ever left. So definitely a situation to monitor in the morning between the Miami Dolphins and New York Jets. Let's go out to Tampa Bay, where the Tom Brady and the Bucs will face Marcus Mariota and the Atlanta Falcons. Bucs, second biggest favorites on the slate, 10-point favorites, 46 total. Last week against the Chiefs, we saw Tom Brady get his weapons back, right? He had Godwin out there, obviously Mike Evans, who has been healthy, and we saw kind of a little bit of a vintage Brady performance. Didn't quite get the win, but did throw for over almost 400 yards, 385 yards, 3 touchdowns, 52 pass attempts. We've seen this offense, when they're healthy, be very pass heavy. Seems like they could be going that way again, Locks, now that they've got Evans and Godwin back out there. Looks like Julio Jones has a good chance, I think, to play in this game as well. Maybe some bounce back spot here for the Bucs, who did have kind of a slow start to the season. I like their passing offense. You'll see people go to Leonard Fournette for sure. I totally get it, but I do see him projected as the highest owned running back on the slate. Do you think you'll see Rachaad White continue to mix in there a little bit? I don't think it's going to be all Fournette going forward, which is a little concerning, for what is projected to be the highest owning running back. Do you really want to be on a player that might be starting to get his workload more and more cut into as the chalk? Obviously, he could get it done, but that does concern me a little bit. the Atlanta side, we saw Tyler Algier take over a little bit, 10 carries for 84 yards in that game with Cordarrelle Patterson on the IR. So he's got a chance to do stuff here, although pretty tough matchup, of course, against the Tampa Bay Bucs. So another game that does have some moving parts to it. Tyler Pitts, I've got to mention, he is already ruled out. It should be Drake London getting the majority of the targets. Disappointing game last week, but he did have 7 targets, and potentially Atlanta could be chasing most of this game. So I do think Drake London, an interesting play here. Let's throw it over to you, Locks. What do you see between these two teams?
Yeah, this is another one I could actually, it could potentially turn into a shootout. I could see it. I think Brady's going to have an FU game, to be honest. I just don't know if I can play him I'm almost seeing him 15 to 20% owned. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get there. Like I said, I'm going to be paying up, and yeah, he's only $6K. He could go ham because he's got all of his receivers. At that ownership, I can't do it.
I can't play Tom Brady as the highest owned QB on the slate.
Yeah, and that's why I'd much rather pay up and just get Allen or Hurts at that point. You know what I mean? So, yeah, is he a good play? Probably. I think he's going to be a good play this week, absolutely. But I'm playing to win a GPP. I'm playing to win $1 million. So I'm not going to be on a 15 to 20% Tom Brady, a chalky Tom Brady, to be honest with you. I'll sprinkle in all of his receivers. My favorite one on that side is probably Chris Godwin this week. I think he's going to get peppered. I think he's kind of slowly coming back into form. Missed a couple of weeks there. Obviously, he had the injury to begin the year, then his hamstring. So 10 targets last week. I could see him having a breakout week here. Now that Rachaad White's in the picture, that's another timeshare I'm going to stay away from in the backfield. Because I don't know which one to play. So that's tough on that side. On the other side, Algier looks solid, but Caleb Huntley looks solid too. The guy got same amount of rushes. He scored the TD. So how do you choose between those two? And like you said, Bucs run defense is actually pretty good. So I don't know. This game has me toss and turn on what I'm going to do with it. I'm not sure. I'm going to have pieces obviously in here because I think there is some value to be had. And I think London's easily going to have double-digit targets this week, so you could get on him a little bit. But I don't mind either Algier or Huntley. You're spending $4,700, $4,300 for either one of those two, so you can sprinkle either one of those guys in. London on that side as far as wideouts go. And like I said, I'll sprinkle Tom Brady in, but I'm not playing a lot of them. I'm not going to match the field. I'm going to be under.
Yeah, the London thing, I might end up pretty big on him. I just don't know where else they're going to throw the ball, and I think they're going to have to throw the ball in this one because I do think the Bucs are going to put up points. So I'm sure people will be on London, but both of these running backs, these rookie running backs, they don't seem like extreme pass catching types. Cordarrelle Patterson is out, Kyle Pitts is out, and their wide receiver room, outside of Drake London is real thin. It's like Zacchaeus as their number 2 guy. Mariota has shown that he likes to throw to London, could be trailing game script. I don't think it's crazy, Snyder, to say that London could lead the whole slate in targets. I think it's in the realm of possibility for a $5,900 wide receiver that has talent. I like him quite a bit this week.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be looking to pretty much full fade the Falcons, so I don't trust Marcus Mariota at all. His completions have actually dropped every week since week 1. 20 completions, 17, 13. Then last week, he only had 7 completions. So I think I'm going to be looking just to fade the Atlanta as a whole. I'm going to be off of both of the value running backs. I just don't trust this Atlanta team. And now they're coming in to face Angry Brady. There's a lot of trends and such backing Brady off 2 losses. So I think this is going to be just an absolutely smash spot, get right spot for Tampa Bay this week. So definitely, I'm not sure if I'm going to play Brady or not, but I think I'll probably have some Brady doubles, though. I think Chris Godwin's going to see the most ownership here. It looks like Big Mike Evans is going to be about half the ownership as Godwin right now, right around 12 to 15% ownership. And then Godwin's are like at 25 to 30% ownership. I think Uncle Lenny and Godwin are going to be the 2 cash staples that many play in cash games this week. So I think that's going to kind of gravitate over into especially small field tournaments. The million makers, they probably won't be as owned as high as they should be in that format. So I think just a great spot for this Tampa Bay offense this week. I'm going to have quite a bit of ownership to a lot of these guys. And the tight end for Tampa Bay this week is going to be Cade Otton at 2,500. So I think he's going to see a little bit of ownership. It doesn't look like he's getting steamed up too high yet. He's only right around 10% ownership, but I think he's interesting here for a value piece. But I'm definitely going to be on Godwin. I wrote this game up as one of my gems on the RPS website, and I was really excited to see how much Godwin actually played last week, coming back his first week back. He basically played on, I think, right around 90% of the snaps off that injury. He played on 53 of 64 snaps, so he saw 10 targets. So definitely in on Godwin and Big Mike Evans, and possibly even that value tied in. I think I'm just going to full fade the Falcons here then.
Yeah, makes sense. I can't argue with it. The Bucs defense, I saw someone mention it in chat. I think they're interesting when when we start talking about, it's like, man, this Atlanta offense, how are they going to move the ball? They're going to be behind probably, and they're just going to be predictable, right? Because they don't have many options left. So it's like, okay, if we can take away the rookie wide receiver, Drake London, or maybe Mariota staring him down, that could present opportunities for big plays for the Bucs defense. So I do like that call quite a bit. But yeah, I think Tampa Bay kind of routes them here, runs away with it. And like you said, Snyder, we've seen Tom Brady, especially angry Tom Brady, run up the score many times. This could be one of those games where he throws a couple, meaningless touchdowns in the fourth quarter and really smashes. So I'm going to get most of my exposure through his wide receivers. But I do understand the people that are going to Tom Brady. I think he's a good cash game play for sure at 6K. It's just the ownership. I don't love being on the highest priced quarterback, especially when he's a non-running quarterback. And there's several guys you can go to on the slate. So that's Tampa Bay and Atlanta. Let's go to kind of an ugly game here. Tennessee and the Washington Commanders, 43 total. Expected to be close. It is the Titans who are 1 point favorites going on the road. We do have significant injury news in this one. Two of the many impressive rookie wide receivers are down for this game. Treylon Burks headed to IR with turf toe, so he's going to be out, at least 4 weeks now. And then Jahan Dotson, who's been a touchdown machine, 4 touchdowns on just 12 catches so far, he is out. So we do have significant news at the wide receiver position there that will affect things. Logan Thomas, questionable to play. I kind of expect him to go, but again, we don't know for sure. But yeah, we'll start with you here, Snyder. I think the Washington side is a little bit interesting. I haven't been on them these last couple weeks, but I might jump back on board a guy like Curtis Samuel now, especially with Dotson out. I think the targets could go his way. I'm just a little worried about this game's ability to shoot out in general. Of course, you've got McLaurin, who I think is interesting. Derrick Henry, kind of back from the dead last week. He's actually got 5 and 6 targets in each of the last 2 games. Maybe, I don't know, like 8 years into his career, they're finally throwing in the ball, which seems smart to me. You got to get this guy in space and let him do his thing. So that's interesting. Your thoughts here on Titans and Commanders, Snyder?
Yeah, I actually like the big dog quite a bit in this matchup. It looks like he's going to be coming in right around 10% or lower. And anytime I can get the big dog at low ownership, I mean, I think he's got the highest ceiling on this slate. I think he's got a higher ceiling than CMC even right now, just based off of how Carolina's using CMC. So I think Henry's the top tournament play on this board from the running back position. Hit 100 yards last week. He's hit the end zone in his last 3 games. And you said he's being featured in the pass game more the last couple of games. So I'm definitely going to be on the big dog, Derrick Henry. 8.2 is a high price tag, but I definitely think he's got that 40 burger in his range of outcomes this week. So high on that. And this Tennessee defense has been getting just gutted by opposing passing attacks. So I definitely think you could run that back. You can go like a Derrick Henry with the Tennessee defense if you want, and run it back with maybe even a guy like Terry McLaurin. I always shit on him, but my guy is out this week, and this is one of those spots where maybe McLaurin had 4 games last year where he had over 15 points. So I think this is maybe one of those spots where he can have one of those kind of blow up games. I definitely like Curtis Samuel if he's in play, though. He's listed questionable right now. He was a target monster. I think he's a guy they'll kind of rely on here in this game. So I'll be looking at, I think Curtis Samuel I would prefer over McLaurin just for the price savings, but definitely a high on the big dog in this matchup.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense with Henry there. I think he could absolutely smash here. Good matchup. He's going to get to work. Yeah, I like that call. What are your thoughts here on locks between the Commanders and the Titans?
Well, Myers just lost his chance to win a ticket because he didn't include you in that comment.
I hate to see it.
Back to that game. Sorry, I was paying attention to chat a little bit. Trying to help answer some questions there. On this game, I like Henry. I mean, I like a lot how much he's getting involved in the passing game. And when I can see that with a guy that's just a stud on the ground and he's catching some passes, I mean, 5 and 6 targets the last 2 weeks, I don't know how you don't play him. I mean, yeah, he's 8-2, but still, I'm okay paying up for something like that. The guy can run for 150 yards and he catches 5 passes for 60. I mean, I'll take that all day. Why not? I do like Robert Woods a little bit more. It's Tannehill throwing him the ball, so I'm not going to go crazy about Robert Woods, but with Burks being out, I think that's going to load up more targets for him. And at 5,200, he's a little cheap, so you can save some salary there. On the other side, Wentz is far gone after the first 2 weeks of the year, so I'm glad I don't have to really talk about him anymore, to be honest with you. And then I can't believe Snyder's boy is out, so I'm going to go with my guy McLaurin this week. I think he's going to get peppered with targets. I think he finds the end zone this week, and actually makes me like Samuel a little bit more with Dotson being out. So I like McLaurin, Samuel on that side. I don't like either of the backs, and I like Henry and Woods on the other side of it.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to do it, but I don't think it's the craziest week to jump back on the Wentz train. Obviously, had those 2 big games, over 30 fantasy points in both week 1 and week 2, and then had 2 brutal matchups against Philly and at Dallas, where he disappointed. Now he's back at home. Another bad defense. And listen, I mean, he's had over 40 pass attempts in all 4 of his games, a little bit of a condensed target share here. I think I assume he's going to be really low owned. I'm not going to go crazy with Carson Wentz, but I might jump back.
I can get on board on that, I think.
What's that?
I think I could get on board with some of that, run it back with the big dog.
Yeah, I don't necessarily want to be known as the Carson Wentz whisperer, but I am 4 for 4 this year on Mr. Wentz. Everybody's got to be good at something, I guess, and I can predict that bum Carson Wentz is bad in good games, which I would trade it in for a more useful skill, but we'll take what we can get, Snyder. Let's move on to the next game on the slate. There are just three afternoon games. First one we'll talk about San Francisco 49ers and the Carolina Panthers. 49ers, as expected, relatively big favorites, even going on the road here, 6.5-point favorites. But this game does have the lowest total on the entire slate, 39.5 points expected here. A lot of really good players in this game, Locks, but I'm not sure how much of this game I really want to play. It should be slow-paced. But, man, I mean, McCaffrey getting all the work for Carolina. We know what Deebo Samuel can do, just a man out there, man. He can really play. So, yeah, those guys I think are in play, but I'm not getting too crazy with this game, Locks.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't see much on this game. I mean, a 39.5-point total. No, none of these offenses really, I mean, can bust out that I've seen so far this year. I don't mind a few pieces here. I mean, I keep going back to McCaffrey, but it's getting harder and harder. He ends up getting there towards the end of the games. I don't get why they don't use him to start the games. And the guy's a beast. Baker Mayfield sucks, so I don't know why you wouldn't just give him the ball every play. It's the only way they're going to stay in games, and they find it out later in the game to catch up at the end for no apparent reason. So I'll still play him just because he's a beast. So maybe they'll figure it out eventually. On the other side of things, I'm not playing Jimmy G. Deebo Samuel is an absolute stud. Garoppolo does like Ayuk, so I really wouldn't mind throwing in a little bit of him just to save some salary there at wideout. And then Jeff Wilson continues to produce a little bit, but then you got Deebo Samuel that cuts into his workload. So I can't get behind Jeff Wilson too much, really, to be honest with you. And Kittle hasn't shown me anything this year. I know he's the highest priced tight end, I think, but which is sad to say at 5'2". So I'm definitely not spending up at tight end. I'm going to save all my salary at tight end this week. I don't have much on this game. I'm just like you. I don't see much here.
Yeah, Kittle, I mean, talent is obvious. They just don't use him in a way that scores a lot of fantasy points. So it's hard to, he just, the $5,200 price tag really isn't justified, but obviously the upside is there, Snyder. So you could go to Kittle. I have a hard time clicking that button, but I assume that's kind of the case for most people. You got any gems for us here, Snyder, for the 49ers and the Panthers?
Not too much here for me this game. I think Kittle maybe use more this game. I don't think they're going to need him as a pass blocker as much this game. That Carolina defense doesn't really scare me too much. So maybe they throw him a couple of bones this game after he pass blocked most of the game last week. So I think he's interesting for tournaments. Brandon Ayuk's another interesting guy. I think he comes in like 1 to 3% ownership. So if you want to play him at like 5% in your million maker builds, I think he's interesting here for that million type. Jeff Wilson's going to be the chalk running back here. I think Jeff Wilson could approach maybe 30% ownership this week even. Great spot here. Great game setup for him. 5,500. He's going to see probably 15 to 20 touches here. So I think he's in a great spot here. He's going to be one very highly owned cash play. So I think maybe I'd look to fade him in tournaments and such this week, but not too much for me in this game. It's basically going to be a throwaway game for him. Maybe I'll play some Kittle in tournaments. So there's really not too many spend ups that tied in this week. So you can kind of get a little different there. I think Kittle's going to be like 5% or less owned this week. So he's interesting for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So a low scoring game here, but there are some pieces that you can go to. 2 more games to talk about. The contest for the 2-3-3-3 Wildcat tickets is still open. We've got a couple good candidates, but not too late to jump in there and swipe one of those yourself. So if you're not in the live show chat, jump in there and try to grab yourself one of those tickets. Locks is giving away after his big win last week. Let's get to the final 2 games of the slate, Philadelphia and Arizona next. I'm excited for this one. It is the Eagles 5-point favorites going on the road to Arizona, 48.5 total, which sounds modest, but for this slate, is it the highest slate? Highest one? I think it might be. Yeah, the highest total on this slate. I've been playing the seesaw game myself with Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders. Was on Sanders 2 weeks ago, and then Hurts last week, and it was Sanders that did the damage last week. 2 touchdowns, 134 yards on the ground. He's been efficient. Snyder, I think the Eagles are going to win this game handily. I think you're going to put up points. And my biggest concern, honestly, for this game, for DFS-wise, because I want to play the Eagles again, is can the Cardinals keep up? They have been dreadful in the first half of games, and the Eagles have been the best first half team in the league. I think it's honestly kind of terrible coaching from the Cardinals' point of view that kind of leads to these slow starts for the Cardinals. And then you get Kyler Murray in the second half in kind of like backyard football mode, right, where he's kind of doing everything. His team's behind. He's throwing every play, and he eventually gets there. But I respect all parts of this Eagles team: defense, passing game, running game. I think they can do it anyway. I think they cover the spread and win easily here. But I'm a little worried the Eagles are going to be up 21-3 at halftime, and then we're going to see the Jalen Hurts that doesn't do anything in the second half like we saw in weeks 2 and 3. But nevertheless, Snyder, I will have a fair share of Jalen Hurts. I'll be pairing him up with his guys, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Dallas Goedert. Same as last week, I know. Smith especially was disappointing, but indoors, we could see that change. I'll play some Miles Sanders too, not with Jalen Hurts. It's kind of one or the other for me. And I'll throw in maybe some Eagles defense on the Sanders teams. We know how bad Kyler has been in the first half, And if you're telling me in the second half he's going to kind of have to, run around and throw every play, that could potentially present a lot of opportunity for the Eagles defense. So I like the Eagles a lot here. I just wish I could narrow it down to the specific ones I like better than I'm able to. But, I think I've maybe learned my lesson from the last couple of weeks and just be high on this team in general, but don't, necessarily go all in on one side of it, running game or passing game, because I think they're going to move the ball. I feel pretty damn good about that. Snyder, your thoughts here on Cardinals and Eagles?
Yeah, I'm really high on this Eagles passing attack this week. I really like AJ Brown this week, 7,500. It's a pretty big price tag, but I think Jalen Hurts to AJ Brown's definitely a spot I want to be at. You can get AJ Brown under 10%. I think they have the ability to score 30-plus points in this game, but I am worried about, like you were saying, about the Cardinals being able to kind of push back a little bit. We know how bad Kyler and Cliff are at home, and I am worried about, like you, like Philadelphia could come out to like a 28-0, 28-7 lead, and then not much in the second half. Maybe it's the Miles Sanders show in the second half. I did have some Miles Sanders last week, more so over on FanDuel, and that worked out. But I think I'm going to kind of shy away from Sanders now. This price tag's getting a little too high up there for me, but I'm definitely going to be overexposed to A.J. Brown and some Jalen Hurts here. Dallas Goedert's an interesting tight end there. I don't think he's going to get too much ownership there, so I could play him in a double stack. Devonta is always in play for tournaments, high upside guy. I'm going to lean more towards A.J. Brown. I think I'm just going to take a stand and play A.J. Brown, Hurts singles this week because Hurts can get some points in some tournaments or some touchdowns on the ground. So I don't want to overstack Hurts, I don't think. So just going to be a single for me, maybe adding in some Dallas Goedert as well. So, but with the Arizona side, maybe I run back with Rondale Moore. He kind of came in and just took over that Greg Dortch role last week. So his price tag still hasn't caught up to where Dortch was priced at. Dortch was like over $5K last week, and Rondale Moore still 4-1. So I think that's a great price tag there. I'm going to be off of Marquise Brown this week, 7,200. That's just too much.
We know, Snyder. We know.
And he's going to be facing off against Bradbury and Slay there. So I definitely think Rondale Moore's got the better matchup this week. So I'm going to Rondale Moore.
Don't try to sneak your Hollywood Brown slander past me. I told you you're not allowed to talk about him. I meant it. So I see you trying to sneak it in there. I'm not going to allow it. No, I'm not that high on him here anyway. But I mean, look at the last 3 games: 11, 17, 11 targets. I think he's
going to face off against those tough cornerbacks this week. So I'm definitely more so off him than I usually am.
And he can't catch, and he's a former Raven. We get it. Marquise Brown. Let's throw it over to Locks to talk about this game. But before you talk about the game, Locks, I do think we've got our Wildcat 333 ticket winners picked out. A couple of them, and sounds like you might be throwing in a little bonus there too. So Locks, take it away. The winners from the live show Discord chat. If you've got them, give it away to the people.
Yeah, I think I got them narrowed down here. I'm going to surprise you guys with an extra one. So we got 3 people getting a ticket today. We're shipping some money tomorrow. Y'all can win with us. The first one goes out to J-Ruff with the picture of Snyder with his shirt off. That one got me laughing. So you're the first winner. Congratulations, J-Ruff. The other guy, second winner of the ticket, I'm going with Nadesify. My Wisconsin boy, he's always in the chat, always in every one of our YouTube videos and everything else, always in the chat. So he gets the second one. Love to see it. And then I can't help but give a third away just because Parabay has been so funny today. Loads and loads of laughs as I'm looking through there. So Parabay, you get the third one. Congratulations. That's a bonus one. Good luck to you guys. I hope to see your guys' name at the top.
Awesome stuff from Locks there, giving back after the big win. Even giving the third bonus ticket from 3 longtime members, always contributing in a positive way to the RPS community. So great stuff, Locks, and congratulations to the winners. I think they can just contact you, right, in the Discord.
Yeah, shoot me a message. shoot me a message. So I got your stuff. I'll respond to you. I'll either PayPal, Venmo, whatever we can figure out. I'll get it to you.
Perfect. Yeah. And we'll see you guys in the Wildcat tomorrow. Good luck with those entries. And we do appreciate your support on all of these shows for years, I think, for all three of you, frankly. So congrats again. Locks, go over this Arizona and Philadelphia game for us.
Yeah. This is tough for me because this is a game I'm going to be on a lot. I see this thing going high. I know the Eagles' defense is good, but for some reason, I have a feeling this game is going to be real high scoring. I'll be on this game a lot. It's the tough part for me is if I want a late swap, I'm kind of screwed because there ain't many ways to go. But I'm willing to stick with it. My instinct to begin the week was this game, so I'm staying there. I like Hurts, A.J. Brown, and Goddard. Those are my three. I love those guys. I don't think Sanders comes back again with a game like that. I think it's going to be the Jalen Hurts show again.
Yeah.
He was a little rough last week and still managed to get us 16, 17 points. So I'm high on him. I've been high on him all year. Devontae Smith is another guy. Yeah, you can throw him in there. I mean, he can break a slate. The guy can bust one loose anytime. So I like throwing him in there as well. Those four guys, I'm going to be super high on all week and all my lineups. So I like that side of things. Kyler Murray showed a little bit of life at the end of that game in the second half. Maybe they caught something. Maybe they figured something out. I'm sure hoping so. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But a lot of times I go with my gut, and my gut leads me in the right direction. So I'm going to stay there. James Conner, I do like at 6,300. I don't know if I do like him that much. The guys on this side I like running it back with are Rondale Moore, as SNYDER mentioned. So I do like that call at 4,100. I think he's going to have a solid game. He's going to get peppered with targets here. So I could see him having a solid game. And at that price tag, I'm willing to absolutely play him. And then the other guy's Ertz. I mean, the guy's just a target machine, especially towards the red zone. Kyler Murray loves the guy. So if I'm running it back, that's definitely a guy I can go to. To be honest, I don't play two tight ends very much. I can see myself playing Goddard and Ertz in the same lineup, to be honest, this week. So this is a game I like a lot. Hopefully you guys do too. If not, I guess I'll just ship the Millie.
Yeah, no, I'll be in on the Eagles and some run backs. I like the Zach Ertz call. I'll probably mix in a little Hollywood Brown and Rondale Moore. If he does play, he has a game time decision. Dude just can't seem to stay healthy, which is another kind of concern of mine, but clearly has the explosive upside to get there into super cheap. That's Rondale Moore. So good options on both sides. I'll be hoping Arizona can kind of keep pace with Philadelphia, because I've got a lot of confidence in Philadelphia's offense in this one and, just going forward in general. Let's get to the last game on the slate. Dallas Cowboys, Los Angeles Rams. Rams coming off tough loss to the San Francisco 49ers. Dak Prescott out another game, but Cooper Rush, was he 3-0 now as a starter for the Cowboys, getting the job done, 25-10 over the Cowboys last week. Didn't have to do a ton, but a couple touchdowns, 225 yards through the air. CeeDee Lamb looks like he's going to play, coming off two pretty big games in a row. Obviously pay attention to that. We know what Cooper Kupp can do. Continues to be a backfield split between Tony Pollard, who looks like he's going to play. Was listed as questionable, SNYDER, on Thursday, I believe, but did travel with the team, and it wasn't illness. So, yeah, I think the safe assumption is that Pollard will be in there, but you never know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, you have to I think, Cooper Kupp in any matchup. We were talking prior to the show about the Dallas defense, which it seems like you are pretty high on, expecting high ownership at 2,500. Very talented defense. In the Rams, this offensive line is not the same. Stafford doesn't look great. Allen Robinson looks like a bust. Some holes in this Rams team. So talk about the game, SNYDER, for us.
Yeah, this is an interesting spot here. Like Big T had talked about earlier in the week, I think this is a spot where Dallas wins this game. I think their defensive line ranks first this week, and then you look at the Rams' offensive line, and it ranks near the back of the pack. So I think Dallas is once again going to have max pressure on Stafford. Stafford's getting a little old and a little slow back there. I think Cooper Kupp's going to be a guy he's going to be looking at, obviously, pretty often. I think I'm going to be off of Cooper Kupp this weekend. I don't think he has that huge game that breaks the slate. So at 9,600, I think that's an easy fade for me this week. CD Lamb, someone that I'm always going to be on this year. I was high on him coming into the year, like in best balls and such. And his target share has absolutely been on fire this year. Touchdowns in back-to-back games. Almost hit the 100-yard mark last week, but just was a little bit short with 97 yards. But Cooper Rush is definitely looking to him. He's averaging over I think he's averaging like right at 10 targets a game this year. So definitely like him in this game. I'm not worried about Marcus Lattimore or anyone lining up against Lamb in this. Or not Marcus Lattimore, but Jalen Ramsey lining up against him. So I'm going to be on some CD Lamb. Gallup's an interesting call there at 5K. I think he's definitely in play. I'm going to be off of all the running backs in this game. I don't really have any trust in any of the split backfields in this game, so I'm just going to X all those guys out. I do like the Dallas defense. I'm going to probably play them definitely in cash. I'm not sure, depending on what their ownership gets to. If they get up to what the Bengals were that 1 week, I probably have to X them out. But if they stay 20% or lower, I think I can fit the Dallas defense in. But looking at the tight ends here, Locke's made an interesting point last game talking about you can play 2 tight ends. And right away I went into SaberSim, our optimizer projections, and I just sorted by wide receivers and tight ends and hit value. And a lot of tight ends are quite up there. I mean, there isn't that much of value at receiver. So I think this is a week that you could get away with playing 2 tight ends and some teams. You get Tyler Higbee here at 4,300. That's a great price tag. I think he's going to be one of those quick outlets that Stafford's going to be looking to when he's facing a lot of pressure on this game. He had 14 targets and 10 catches last week. He's had 9 targets and 11 targets in two of the 3 other games this year. So definitely going to have some Higbee. Not too much. I think it's just kind of some one-offs in this game, mainly just like Lamb and Higbee in this game for the most part. And then I'm going to have some Dallas defense. I think Dallas wins this game, like Big T was saying. So I'm going to be higher on the Cowboys from a betting standpoint. And then CD Lamb, maybe some Michael Gallup as well.
Yeah, it makes sense. The tight ends here, Locks, I do think are interesting. I mean, you can't ignore the amount of targets Tyler Higbee's getting. 14 targets in his last game. I mean, 14, 4, 9, and 11. Hasn't scored yet. And the yardage hasn't been great. But for a $4,300 tight end, the worst position, I don't know if those targets are going to continue. But, again, you just can't ignore that type of usage. And then Dalton Schultz, goose egg last week on 3 targets, but he was back to his normal role. 90% of the snaps for Dalton Schultz. Another week removed from the knee injury. 3,400. Yeah, I kind of like both tight ends in this game. Talk about it, break it down for us. Thoughts on Cooper Kupp, the running backs, the tight ends, the quarterbacks. You know the drill. Go ahead, Locks.
Yeah, I don't mind this game. I'm not actually going to have that much exposure to it, I don't think, other than a couple pieces here and there. I do like your guys' take on both tight ends. With Schultz, I thought Cooper Rush was going to throw to him a little bit more, and I haven't seen it since he took over. I mean, maybe at 3,400, yeah, I could see playing him absolutely because that could change in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
With Gallup back, the way CD Lamb's looking this year, it's kind of hard to take Dalton Schultz, especially with all the other tight ends that are going to get all the targets and everything, like you mentioned on the other side, Higbee. So I don't think I'm going to get the Schultz on that side. I actually don't mind a little bit of maybe Elliott this week is possible, but Pollard's going to play, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, then I'm off Elliott. I thought Pollard was still questionable, but I just looked.
I would definitely play Zeke here if Pollard was out. But
yeah, if Pollard was out, I was going to play him. But now that I'm seeing it, I just clicked on him, and it looks like he's going to play. So I'm off both running backs. I'm there with you guys on CD Lamb. He's having a solid year. Gallup's getting into a little bit. On the other side, just Kupp and Higbee. I mean, like you said, how are you going to get away from a tight end that's getting – I mean, that's just crazy. 14 targets, getting wide receiver targets. So I don't know how you get away from him. As far as Kupp, I don't know. Hard to get away from him too. He's had more than 14 targets in 3 games this year. I mean, how do you get away from the guy? Nobody can stop him. So, yeah, those 2 guys you have to play, and that sucks because actually Dallas's D is one that I was kind of leaning towards this week. a little bit. So
I don't think there's anything wrong, and this is probably a good Millie Maker play. Playing Kupp and the Dallas defense on the same team.
yeah,
Because Kupp can do a lot of damage without scoring, right? Like your defense doesn't get harmed when he's catching those little 5-yard, crossing routes that he does so much. And then, if Dallas D gets there first, gets a pick six or whatever, that also helps Kupp. So I actually think that's not normally something I like to do, but I think in this particular situation, it does make some sense. That'll do it, I guess, for this 12-game slate. We do really appreciate all you guys watching, supporting the show, Run Peer Sports members or not. Of course, always a good time to join us. All sports, one price, ton of great
You guys
content.
have a play of the night? I realize we don't usually do it, but some of the other shows do. You want to give a one play of the night for the people who you're high on tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Snyder. I need a moment, but go ahead and give your play of the day.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go right back to the big dog this week. I think he's got the highest ceiling on the slate. I think he's going to be under 10% owned. So I'm going to go with the big dog, Derrick Henry, this week. I think he has one of those ceiling type games where he puts up 35 points or something this week. So I'm going to be high on the big dog this week.
Love the Derrick Henry call. Lux, you have a play of the night, play of the day for us?
yeah, I think I'm gonna go in my favorite game of the week. I think I'm gonna go AJ Brown. I think he goes over 100 and scores a tutty this week, so I'm high on him. I think he's gonna have a solid week. That's my play.
Yeah, I like that one. I will go to the Vikings. I think it's Justin Jefferson who's the better play over Dalvin Cook. Ownership won't reflect that, but I think Jefferson is the man. He had a couple of bad weeks there, weeks 2 and 3, but full faith in him going forward. And I'll go against the masses who seem to prefer Dalvin Cook over Justin Jefferson this week. So those are 3 plays of the day. Good suggestion, Snyder. And that will do it for the show. We'll be back same time. Well, maybe same time. We did do an hour earlier, but we'll be back next week, either this time or the time that we did the previous 4 weeks. But we do, again, appreciate all you guys tuning in. Hit the like, hit the subscribe if you haven't on your way out. Make sure to tune into all the content, free and otherwise, on Run Pure Sports in the morning. And good luck in week 5. Should be a fun one, as they all are in the NFL. Hopefully see some of you guys up near the top of the leaderboards. That'll do it for us. I'm DC for Snyder, for Locks, and Helmet Behind the Sticks. We'll check you next time.